This is the Marvel Masterworks vidcast, True Believers, where we cover all of the adventures in the Marvel Universe. From the wanderings of the Green Goliath, to the chaotic offices of the Daily Bugle, to the grim alleyways of Hell's Kitchen, and to the top of Avengers Tower, with your hosts, Adam and the Emerald Enthusiast.
Welcome to another episode of the Marvel Masterworks vidcast and podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam, the Tony Stark of this show, when he was alive. Not post-snap, obviously, because I'm here. And with me, as always, is my co-host, the Happy Hogan to my Iron Man, Donnie, the Emerald Enthusiast himself. Donnie, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Marvel fans? It's the man whose ring runs on fanboy energy, the podcasting machine, the big nerd in green. It's the Emerald Enthusiast, and we're back to take you to the world, once again, of Miss Marvel.
Now, Donnie, imagine if Iron Man had like an emerald-type armor.
Yeah.
You would enjoy that, wouldn't you?
Oh, I would. There was actually a crossover at one time. There was an Iron Man Green Lantern amalgam title, and I have it here somewhere.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't. Was that part? That was part of the amalgam universe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta try and track that down.
Yeah, I have it here somewhere.
That'd be cool. Well, see, you don't have to imagine it. You've seen it. So.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you enjoyed it, but I'm sure you'd want a figure of that from McFarlane or something.
Yeah. Oh, totally, I would. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just checking all the boxes. See, notice I took a drink. You referenced Green Lantern, and so.
Yeah. There was also Stan Lee's Green Lantern. He he did a series one shots. Yeah. Where he reimagined DC heroes.
Yeah, some of them I liked, some of them weren't for me.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I do remember that. But we're not talking about Iron Man this week, or Green Lantern for that matter. We're as Donnie alluded to, we're talking about Miss Marvel.
Right.
And specifically episodes 3 and 4. But before we do that, just a quick, brief discussion, because we're going to do a full review. But Donnie and I have finally seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or is it in the Yeah, it's in the Multiverse.
In the Multiverse of Madness, yes.
Yeah. So we've both seen it because it's on Disney Plus now. And no offense to Doctor Strange, but you were a wait for Disney Plus kind of deal, and I waited, and now we've watched. So, Donnie, brief thoughts. What do you think?
I was just blown away by this movie. I didn't think they would go that far in the horror direction, because we know the MCU for the most part has been very family friendly.
Yeah.
This is the type of film that wasn't for small children. Now, it's still for children. There's a lot to like here, but there was a lot of very scary imagery. Mm-hmm. In particular, the death of Black Bolt. And I don't want to spoil it on this episode, but we'll talk about that when we do talk about this movie. Well, honestly, the deaths of several characters, the Illuminati, and we'll get to those, but I really couldn't believe just how deep they went into the horror direction in this movie.
Yeah.
Well as making at least a version of one of the Avengers, the villain.
Yeah, I was very surprised by the horror direction. Mind you, I shouldn't have been, because it was Sam Raimi, right?
Right. Yeah.
And his style is all over this.
Yes.
You mentioned the death of Black Bolt. We won't go into how it happened, but man, did they do my boy Captain Pike from Star Trek Strange New Worlds dirty. Speaking of doing them dirty, and I'm not going into a raunchy direction here, so don't worry about that, Donnie.
Yeah.
And I won't say it, but I mean it's common knowledge. Professor Xavier. Well, no. Well, anyway. Somebody in this movie gets Man of Steel.
Right.
And boy, was that I mean, I'm curious. Maybe it's almost as if Zack Snyder guest directed that particular shot, because it was like, wow, that's
yeah,
it's going for it.
Yeah.
So So, but the horror aspect of it was shocking. Speaking of Sam Raimi,
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed when they went to the, I guess it was the Baxter Building, was it?
I believe so. I'd
or
have
the
to go back.
Future
And,
Foundation building, whatever. Anyway,
one of them
was something associated with the
Right.
Fantastic Four. One of the two buildings. Anyway, outside of the building, there was a statue of a woman, a warrior, and I read an interview with Sam Raimi where he revealed that is a statue of Xena Warrior Princess, which is a show that he executive produced.
Awesome.
And I loved as a kid. So
yes,
and yes, back in the day, folks, yeah, Lucy Lawless was on the list, as was the person that played
Callisto.
Oh,
Hudson Like, I believe is
and Aphrodite. Remember Aphrodite? They had Aphrodite on the show.
Yes.
She's also on the list. So a lot of pen clicking today. It's not going to stop.
Have you ever seen? Hudson Like still does the Callisto scream at Comic Cons, and Xena fan get-togethers.
I've never seen her do it in person, but
she
can
still
scream at me if she wants.
She can still break glass. Let me tell you.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. Speaking of Sam Raimi, but yeah, the horror stuff was evident.
Well, speaking of, there was the live action debut of a female hero in this. It's a character we had seen in animation before, but yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Can we just say who it is, and then we'll
well, I just want to say, but she's not half the woman she used to be. Bunch.
Well, and I will say, and you can circle back to this when we do our full review.
Yeah.
That particular woman that Donnie is talking about is also on the list.
Right.
See, now I'm doing it discreetly and not naming the person because I can't. So now there's a spoiler-centric version of the pen click. Now let's see. I've got all my bases covered.
The character can be on the list twice. Both halves of her.
Yeah. Well.
That was brutal too.
Now you're getting me. Now does that require another list? I can't do that, Donnie. I'll get way too many lists.
That's right. We won't tell you who, because just in case you haven't seen it and you're listening to this. But that one character got Darth Mauled. So yeah. So
we've got Man of Steel and Darth Maul all referenced in this movie. But no, I thought it was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was great. I love the horror bits of it. And I will say, this is the best kind of compliment I can, or two compliments. Elizabeth Olsen, once again, is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
Every time out as the Scarlet Witch, she just gets better and better and better. And the other aspect that I want to call to is that I will say that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness for me is a massive improvement over the first Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange was the first movie, I think, ever that I've fallen asleep in the theater.
Well, I fell asleep.
The second one was Blade Runner 2049, by the way.
Right.
But yeah.
I fell asleep in Terminator 2, and I love that movie, but I was really tired. So anyway.
so I did not fall asleep in this. Mind you, I was watching it at home, but still, I did not fall asleep in this movie. So that's. But we'll circle back once this Marvel is done.
Right.
We'll do a review of Doctor Strange.
I do want to say that my youngest child instantly became a fan of America Chavez.
Oh,
In fact, I went and got them a comic book, like a trade paperback at the comic store yesterday. So
awesome.
Yeah.
But did you get her the action figure? That's the question.
Well, they're not really into action figures. However, if you want to go to my YouTube channel, you can see a review of the Marvel Legends America Chavez.
Now, wait a minute. Your kids are not into the action figure collecting?
Well, not as much.
That's a travesty of
well,
justice.
One's 18 and one's 13, so yeah.
I get it, but still. Yeah. You have to indoctrinate them properly. Anyway, I'm sure they'll grow into your toy collector like you did. But there's always a chance. But yeah, no. So we'll expand on our thoughts on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness when we do our full review. Once Miss Marvel has concluded her run on Disney Plus, which we're going to continue going forward. You know what? Let's take a quick break, and then on the flip side, we'll do Miss Marvel episodes 3 and 4. So we'll be right back.
Get your popcorn ready.
Indeed. I'm your host, Adam.
And I'm the Emerald Enthusiast.
And for all your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows.
That includes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Masters of the Universe, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Comics universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast.
All right here on YouTube and Podbean. From the first podcast and vidcast to the last.
And we're back!
Indeed we are. And as promised, Miss Marvel, the continuing journey of Kamala Khan, episodes 3 and 4. So Donnie, when we last left, what's going on since we last talked about Miss Marvel?
Okay, so episode 2 ends with Miss Marvel, who at the time is actually named by the public Nightlight, which she's not really cool with that moniker, which I understand.
It's not
but
a good
she almost saved a kid from falling, but then we saw her with, this kind of manifestation in front of her that she wasn't really able to control her powers, and the kid ended up getting injured. So now she's experiencing some self-doubt.
Well, he's an idiot for going on a roof and trying to take a selfie. Let's call it.
Yeah. And she's also being chased by the Department of Damage Control.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we left off with the last episode. This episode, number 3, is called Destined. And so we see that Najma explains that she and Kamran are part of a superpowered group known as the Clandestines. And they are what, at least at this point, what we're led to believe is that they are jinn who were exiled from the newer dimension. So what were your early impressions of this, the jinn, instead of the Inhumans being involved in where, Kamala kind of comes from?
Yeah, that was interesting because one of the few things that I know about Kamala Khan is that she's an Inhuman from the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they were starting to make reveals, I thought, oh, that's what this is going to, they're going to acknowledge the Inhuman. And then, as you mentioned, Black Bolt was in the Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. So I thought, okay, are they finally going to go down that rabbit hole of the Inhumans? But they went with the Clandestines. And
at least at this point, there's always the chance that later on it's revealed that, hey, this was a smokescreen and she really is an Inhuman.
Yeah.
It's possible.
But with the whole clandestine thing, and I like that we're slowly peeling back the reveals of her of her true nature, her abilities, how the what do we call it? The bangle.
The bangle, yeah.
I was going to call it bracelet again. The bangle. That's going to be the...
Well, bracelet isn't necessarily wrong. It's not as specific.
That's going to be an issue for me the whole friggin' series. Anyway, we're learning more about the bangle. But I like the whole backstory, the history of the Jinn, and what's his name, Bruno or whatever her friend's name is, trying to learn about him.
Yes, Bruno, right.
Yeah. So I'm into all that, like that whole mythology there about the Jinn. I was really intrigued and into it, so I like it.
Right. Okay, so speaking of the bangle, one of the things that we learned, a big revelation in this, is that Najma is pressuring Kamala to use the bangle to send them home.
Yes.
Again, we've learned that they're exiled, and at first it's a request, and then it becomes much more kind of negative and pushy, and we see that
forceful,
Najma is not very patient when it comes to this. And at the same time, you mentioned Bruno. Bruno is very apprehensive about this type of interdimensional travel.
Yeah, because he keeps like, there could be an explosion, things could go wrong.
Right. So, Kamala is imploring Kamran, give me some time so I can, kind of feel this out and learn more about it.
Yeah. Which he's want to do, but his mother ain't having any of it. She's just... Yeah.
So one of the other storylines that's going on in this episode is that Kamala's brother Amir is getting married to his fiancée Taisha, but Kamran actually crashes the wedding to warn Kamala that the clandestines are coming. Yeah. They're not willing to wait anymore.
By the way, I had fun with that. That was a fun segment with the wedding. I was enjoying that.
It really was, and it was very colorful. It was very upbeat, and I feel like this is serving a lot of.
I wanted to start dancing, Donnie. I wanted to get in.
This is serving a lot of different purposes here, but in looking at the reactions of a lot of Pakistani people and Muslim people, that they like the representation so far of their culture, and again, we're talking about representing a group that we haven't seen a lot of. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
and I definitely like going into like the cultural things more so than the high school stuff. I don't mind the high school stuff being sprinkled in, but it's not all Kamala in classrooms and longing after Kamran and all this other stuff. There's a lot of meat to the culture that's surrounding her here.
Right, agreed.
So we also see Kamala again in a big fight at the end with the clandestines.
Yeah, so, that was a great fight sequence.
It really was. You might say that they faced the wrath of Khan.
I knew one of us was going to do that at some point in this. And it's
had to be done.
It's either that or a wrestling reference. Yeah.
Hey, at least I didn't do that joke that Kofi Kingston did on SmackDown.
Which one?
The one where Austin, he was like, Kofi was like, it's a great day to be here. It's a great time to be here in July. I mean, to be here in June. And Austin Creed was like, wait a minute. Or excuse me, Xavier Woods said, wait a minute. It's not June anymore. And Kofi said, Julyan.
Good Lord. Oh, my God.
Dad joke power. So
that is one, yeah. No, and I like how in the course of the fight, like she uses the big fist. Like that was one.
Yeah.
And where it extends. That people are talking about how her powers are, at least on the live action side, kind of mimic the Green Lantern's constructs a bit. And in that instance, I saw it. I said the only difference is that it's purple instead of green.
Yeah, purple and pink, and it's kind of a kaleidoscope of colors. I will say this though: this seems to be more of as opposed to. With the Green Lanterns, the ring interacts with their minds and it's making things from the energy within the ring that is interacting with their brains. With Kamala, it seems to be that her body is doing things in conjunction with the bracelet. So, so far, at least, we've only seen a limited number of things. So I don't think they've gone full Green Lantern with this.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, but there's the visual similarity is more what I'm getting at than.
Well, it definitely looks like how Jordan likes to make boxing gloves and big fists. So
like Ryan Reynolds did in the movie there.
Yes. But understand, Kamala makes the big fists in the comics all the time. Her hands grow. So.
What was interesting about the fight? There was a moment where one of the guys like starts taking off his belt, and going to use it as a whip, and I'm like. Who are you? An Italian father in the 40s? He's taking off the belt like, what is this?
Yeah.
So there was that I found kind of humorous. I mean, it's not humorous for anybody that got the belt when they were younger, but back in the day, and the way that was accepted, it's not anymore. But but it was humorous for me because that's instantly what I thought of. Just the imagery of because the Italian parents would be like, "Don't make me get the belt," and they do the motion of and so I thought of that, and it just made me laugh. I like when the battle kind of went to the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
and the mother of Kamran like turns off the lights so that because she's smart enough to know that Kamala is inexperienced, and
Mm-hmm.
when she is threatened, she'll instantly use her abilities, and I'll be able to see the light, and then we can track her. So that was a smart tactic, and I liked the intelligence of it, even though they're the villains. But
So the way this episode ends, the clandestines get the upper hand on Kamala and Bruno and Kamran, who sides with Kamala. Najma tries to use the bangle, which triggers a vision of a train.
mm-hmm.
And as the Department of Damage Control, they arrive and capture the clandestines, including Kamran. Kamala and Bruno, they're able to make an escape, but Nakia sees Kamala using her powers, and she realizes that she's Miss Marvel, or at least the hero that they've seen on the news. Yeah, or Nightlight. So Sana contacts Kamala, revealing that she also saw this vision, or possibly more, of the train. And she insists that Kamala and Muniba, they have to visit the city of Karachi. And so that's where things leave off.
Man, that grandmother, every time she's on the iPad makes me laugh.
That's great. She's all up in it.
So I'm telling you, it's like when I talk to my grandmother each week. It's like, Grandma, move back. I can only see your forehead. But yeah, no, I really like this episode. I mean, and again, it makes sense that she would have to go, to Karachi to explore more of her roots and more, really, really dig into the mystery of the bangle. So I like how that ended. But is there anything else you want to mention, or we'll go ahead and rate it?
No, we go ahead and rate it.
All right, go ahead.
So I thought the episode, this is the first one I thought started a little slow, but it really picked up towards the end. I really like the wedding. Again, I'm liking all the cultural snapshots that we're seeing here, and I like the development towards the end. So I'm going to give this one on a scale. We're doing a scale of 5, right? Or letter grade?
Letter grade.
Okay, I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah. I'll pretty much felt the same as you. But I'll go slightly higher because I really like the fight scenes. Fight scenes, they really impressed me. So I'll go ahead and give it a B+. For episode 3. But yeah, and I like the one of the things I do like the music. The music that they end the credits with. I like it.
I'm really liking Amir. I know that he's not the most important character in this series, but he feels very real to me. He's a guy getting married. He's in love. He's worried about his bank account.
Yeah, the brother. Yeah, the brother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's good. I like all. To me, still the parents. Every time I see the parents, I know I'm in for a good laugh. So it's I enjoy it. But yeah, all right. So let's go to episode 4 then.
Okay, so Seeing Red is episode 4. So Kamala and Muniba, they travel to Karachi, which is, I believe, the largest city in Pakistan. Okay. I know it's one of the largest in the world. And they reunite with Sanya, who later reveals to Kamala that the bangle is trying to send her some type of message in regards to the train. So that vision, or possibly more, I don't think we exactly know what that is yet, but that is going to be an important point, and we see that developed throughout this episode.
Indeed. No, I like the sort of reunion at the airport. That's very familiar. Mm-hmm. In the sense that whenever I go to Italy, it seems like a horde of family, shows up. It's like we're coming to visit. We're going to get there. You didn't all need to drive down to the airport. But I got that feeling where the cousins come, the grandmother, the whole night. So that was very reminiscent of like a reminiscent experience. And but I liked it on the way, sort of to their destination. We're getting like shots of the city, which I thought was really cool because you could see.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it goes to the cultural exposure, cultural representation, but also in the car, you just saw between Kamala and her grandma like the genuine love that they have for each other, and like the longing that they miss each other. So I appreciated that was there.
Right. Well, and another thing, it's an interesting dynamic. Kamala is part of a very large, loving family. A lot of teenage heroes, they're now not that Kamala's not a little quirky, but they're kind of loners.
Yeah.
They're portrayed in a way where even if they have loved ones, there usually aren't many, and they're kind of off in their own little world. Kamala is trying to deal with all this stuff while she is surrounded by a very large, very interconnected family.
Yeah.
So I do like that dynamic.
I concur. It just adds. It adds something so unique to the series that, like you were saying, not many teenage heroes have. Like, Peter's uncle is dead.
Yeah, and and Aunt May is not. I mean, they don't run in the same circles.
Yeah.
So Peter's on his own a lot.
Yeah. Nova, right? Is his dad is missing? I think, right?
Right.
I'm trying to think of other teenage heroes.
Well, let's for instance, the Teen Titans.
Yeah, I mean they're all. I mean, look at Superboy. His fathers are Lex Luthor and Superman. That's a lot of baggage.
Right. Yeah. Kelly Quintella does it.
Yeah. So they don't really have like even the for example, Bart Allen, right? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Barry's around his grandfather, but it's not like they spend much time together.
Mm-hmm.
They rarely do. In fact, it's such an awkward relationship because, yeah, grandpa, but grandpa's 30-something. Because I'm from a different time. Yeah. It's grandpa, but it's not you know what I mean? Yeah. It's weird. So, yeah, just teenagers typically have weird familial dynamics. So this is a nice change of pace.
Right. And like I said, and it's a big family. It's not just her immediate family. We see a lot of people interacting with her. And she's, again, at the same time, dealing with basically, becoming a superhero. So,
yeah.
So later on, we see Kamala, who, by the way, at least we see part of her costume. It starts to kind of develop here. She puts on the mask that was given to her by, it was Bruno, right?
Yeah, he gave it to her in a bottle.
Okay. So Kamala gets the mask from Bruno, which I was a little kind of two minds about. Like, I understand they need to get to that, but I thought her putting it on with the rest of her clothes was a little reckless.
Yeah, what is that going to obstruct?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a domino mask.
Right. It's very obvious who you are, that with the rest of your clothes. Anyway, so.
I wonder who that, like, unless it has some tech where it obscures your face.
Right. Yeah.
Why has nobody ever thought of that?
What? With the domino mask?
Yeah, like to have a chip in it or something that.
Well, actually, there was in Green Lantern. It said that Hal Jordan's mask glows so brightly it's hard to look directly at his face.
I see, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why people don't know who he is.
Like even Batman, like the Batman family, right? Like what with the technology that the Wayne Enterprises has, can Bruce Wayne, give Tim Drake, Dick Grayson some kind of upgraded mask that could somewhat conceal their identity? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Better than
he also he had him wear bare legs and pixie shoes for years, so they're not always all about fashion.
Yeah, it's not the greatest working conditions. Anyway.
So anyway, back to Miss Marvel here. So again, later on, Kamala goes to the train station to investigate, but she's attacked by Kareem, who is part of the Red Daggers. He mistakes her for part of the clandestines.
Right.
So finally realizing who she is, Kareem takes Kamala to the Red Daggers hideout. By the way, you definitely can't say that Kamala is a Mary Sue because she can't throw knives.
Right.
That was a moment where I was just like, she obviously doesn't have any training there, so it made sense that she wasn't good at that.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they continue to show that, look, she's not a perfect, fully rounded hero yet. She still makes mistakes. I like that.
Yeah. So we learn from the leader of the Red Daggers, and that's Waleed, that the clandestines are trying to break the Veil of Nur, which separates the dimension of the jinn and the humans.
Mm-hmm.
And what they want to do is expand and take over. So, Kamala's reservations about the clandestines are confirmed here.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about as altruistic as we just want to go home.
Right. And in fact, we see that when the clandestines escape the damage control Supermax prison, Najma abandons Kamran because he helped Kamala.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I think in the live action superhero genre, I want to say two parents that are not winning Mother of the Year are Billy Batson's mother, because that woman, oof,
horrible.
Yeah, she's something, all right. I can't say the word, but
right.
And now,
PG-13.
And now, she's a witch, but replace the W with another letter, with a B. And same with Conrad's mother. Like, holy jeez. I mean,
yeah.
I know he went, but hey, listen, he was right. But anyway, he's still your son. So yeah, these two mothers are not parents of the year, and neither, for that matter, are the Penguin's parents from Batman Returns, because
yeah.
I
was the number one, and they treated me like number two.
I think worse than number two.
Yeah.
Never throw you in a river, buddy. That ain't number two. That's
some bad parenting right there.
Yeah.
Right
so those are the top three unworthy of parent of the year in live action comic book franchises. So I'll just throw that out.
So this episode, much like the previous one, ends with a big throwdown. A chase ensues, and Waleed manages to kill one of the clandestines, but then he is killed himself by Najma.
Yeah, he gets stabbed quite brutally. I actually like this fight. I'll tell you why, because it felt like the way they were running through the the city, and all the chaos and rooftops and this and that, going on different levels. It reminded me of
and I want to say I liked when she used her power to make the incline, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this battle sequence reminded me like I can't remember which one, but there was one of the James Bond films, the Daniel Craig ones, that had something. This reminded me of one of those fights and chase sequences. So yeah, really well put together. Again, when they do get to the fight sequences, they're really well put together and really action packed.
Yes. So this ends with the big event of Najma accidentally, or maybe on purpose, I don't know, stabs the bangle, which then sends Kamala into a vision of the partition. At least, I don't know whether it's a vision or she actually got sent there.
I think she sent it. I don't think it's just a
That
vision.
was kind of like initially I looked at that and I was like, is that just a vision or has she actually been sent like through some kind of interdimensional portal?
Yeah, through
And
time.
she's there. So I guess we'll see.
Well, I mean, the way to settle this would have been to have that song from Back to the Future playing. You know, back in time. I was humming that when I realized what was going on. I'm like, yeah, all right, I might as well go with it. But
it would fit. They do a great job of, interweaving the dramatic with the comedic in this show.
yeah, because when I was watching, I'm like, oh, because the train was coming at her. I'm like, another vision. But then I'm like, when it starts pulling back and you see, the way people are dressed and
yeah,
the way previous flashbacks look to the partition era,
yeah.
I was like, did they just do some kind of time travel mumbo jumbo? Because I'm all for that. Like, I like time travel.
Oh, likewise, yeah.
Quantum Leap was a great show.
We need to see like a Pakistani counterpart to Doc Brown. That would be cool.
I'm for it. I'm all for it. Let's go. Yeah. And train. There's trains in Back to the Future Part 3.
Right. Yeah.
Train,
yeah.
So, it's all connected, Donnie.
Right.
Hashtag restore the Zemeckis verse.
All right, let's hashtag it 10,000 times tonight.
Yeah, and then boast about how it's trending and how it's the social
worldwide
media
phenomenon.
Yeah. Oh, worldwide. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Global. But no. So I'm intrigued. That ending was what a way to end an episode. Because it's like, all right, is it next week yet?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think this show works on a couple different levels. It's definitely appealing to kids, and that's really what I thought this show was going to do. But at the same time, there's enough there.
Forget about the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, there's enough there, I think, for, people who, older people, adults, even older adults like myself. There's enough here to keep us engrossed in what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. But what a way to end it. It just makes you want to see the next episode immediately. And that's what a good show does. It makes you want to eagerly anticipate the next week's episode. And that's why I like the Disney Plus still does the weekly format. I would hate for this to be dropped, I mean, I'd love it for about one day, but ultimately I'd hate for it to be dropped all at once, because then you binge it, and then it's like, oh, if there's another season, I got to wait another year.
Right.
I don't want to do
well,
that.
And I rarely have time to sit and watch like 4 or 5 hours of TV. So I like that I get it in manageable, bite-sized portions. So,
like, I love Cobra Kai, for example, and because it usually comes out around the holidays, I binge it because they're only half-hour episodes, and but then I'm kicking myself afterwards, be like, now I got to wait another year. Yeah, that sucks. So yeah, no, a mark of a good show is leaving you with immense anticipation for the next episode, and this certainly did that. And so, yeah, let's do a rating. Unless there's anything you wanted to mention.
Oh no, I'm going to give this episode an A. I think it was excellent.
Yeah, this was an absolute A. Great fight scenes, more reveals about Kamala's backstory and the mystery surrounding it, and one heck of a cliffhanger ending. All solid stuff, and can't wait for episode 5. And just as we've done with all the episodes so far, we will review the final 2 episodes once they're out. Danny and I will reconvene and we will break them down. And then during that last episode that we cover Ms. Marvel, I will do a ranking of my favorite Marvel Disney Plus shows so far.
Okay.
You can do that too if you want, Donnie.
Interesting. All right.
So think on it as we go for the next couple of weeks. And I think my ranking, provided that Miss Marvel doesn't, drop the ball big time, my ranking I think is going to surprise and be very different than most people's. So be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
But in the meantime, if you would like to interact with Donnie or I, you can on social media. So Donnie, where do they find you?
You can find me on Twitter or TikTok as the Emerald Enthusiast. Let's talk comics. Let's talk collectibles. Let's talk Disney Plus. Let's talk Miss Marvel. Let's talk Green Lantern. You want to talk about any of the stuff behind me here?
And if you want to steal any of that stuff, come with me because I'm planning a heist. But in the meantime, if you don't want to talk about future law breaking, you could talk about all the geek stuff that Donnie and I talk about with me at Adam_LeafsFan on Twitter. The podcast Vidcast Network has its own Twitter handle at MMNPDC. We also have a Facebook group, which I will link in the description below. Click that, I will add you, and we can continue the conversation there. But until next time, remember that Miss Marvel is forever. From the first time she has visions of a train to the last. So long, everybody.
So long, everyone.